On February 15, 2020, a day after Valentine, a man named Michael Herman made a chilling emergency call to 911. During this call, Herman frantically calls for help, stating that he can hear sounds of struggle coming from his roommate's apartment. After getting his location, the 911 dispatcher assures him that the police are on their way. A few minutes later, the police had not arrived, and Herman grew increasingly anxious, wondering why the police were taking so long. So he decides to call again.
911 emergency, operator 609.
Yeah, I wonder why it's taking the cops so long to get here.
Can you provide me the address so I can look it up?
Yes, 2086 Mountain Street.
Has something changed since you originally called?
What now? What?
Has anything changed since you originally called?
Yes, he's not answering. Like I'm outside her fucking window yelling and nobody's answering. You guys need to get a cop here, quick.
As the dispatcher tries to gather crucial information, it becomes clear that there's more to the situation than meets the eye as Herman continues to emphasize the urgency for police intervention. However, the urgency in Herman's voice raises some important questions. Why was he so disturbed? Why the panic? And what really happened? Hello, and welcome to Maya's Reality Channel, where we bring you compelling true crime stories. From unsolved mysteries to notorious criminals, we leave no stone unturned as we navigate the dark corridors of real-life crimes. So don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more. Now, let's get back to the story. Michael Herman, the roommate of the respected Dr. Amie Harwick, becomes the main person in this confusing and perplexing situation. Michael had called the police because he heard his roommate screaming and suspected something bad was happening to her. When law enforcement arrives, they meet a troubled Michael outside the house. Michael reveals to the police that he has been trying to reach out to Amie, but he didn't get any response.
Hold on. Okay, so you have access to here?
No.
Is there anybody else inside the house?
My roommate.
Just your roommate by yourself?
Yes. Dude, I heard screaming. I don't know if that guy had a gun or a knife. I came running I couldn't find my phone or
So is there somebody else inside?
Yes. So I think there's
Okay, sir, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Calm down. Calm down. Other than your roommate, is there anybody else inside the house?
I don't know.
So you didn't see anyone?
No, I just heard her screaming.
Have you called?
I just got thrown to the ground. I've been calling for her through his windows. Nobody's answering. Nothing. I couldn't find. I'm in the middle of sleep. I don't know how many people are in there. I don't know if he's got a weapon or what. I'm trying to knock on neighbors' doors. Nobody's answering. I don't have a phone.
Moments later, the police decided to investigate the matter, and that is when they found 38-year-old Amie Harwick lying almost lifeless under the balcony of her Los Angeles home. Amie was immediately rushed to the hospital where she later died, leaving behind a chilling tale of murder. Luckily for the authorities, her assailant's image was captured by a camera installed on her doorbell. Now, the question is, who is this man? And most importantly, why did he commit such a terrible act? Well, before we answer that, we need to look at the personal life of Dr. Amie Harwick up to the point of her death. So let's go back to where it all started. Amie Nicole Harwick, born on May 20, 1981, in Sellersville, Pennsylvania, was an American writer and marriage and family therapist. Although details about her biological parents are not widely known, after spending some years in foster care, she was later adopted and grew up in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, under the care of her adoptive parents, Penny Kaufman Harwick and Tom Harwick. Amie graduated from North Penn High School in 1999 and went on to become a well-known therapist in West Hollywood. Her focus was on helping families and providing advice about relationships. Amie gained significant recognition.
This is Dr. Amie Harwick, licensed marriage and family therapist.
And often found herself in the spotlight. She made appearances on podcasts, TV shows, and even ran a YouTube channel where she shared her thoughts and experiences from her work. People who were acquainted with Amie Harwick in more casual settings often described her as a stunningly beautiful woman. She was known for her impeccable sense of style, always dressed elegantly, and was frequently seen at burlesque clubs, go-go bars, and art exhibitions, making her presence known in various social circles. During Amie's teenage years, she fell in love with a musician from a local band, which led to an early marriage. By 2001, she had moved to Los Angeles. a city known for achieving dreams. Although her marriage didn't last, Amie chose to stay in Los Angeles. Like many newcomers, Amie had big dreams, not just reaching for the stars, but putting her heart into everything. She had a clear sense of where she was headed. Driven by her career goals, Amie pursued more education, finishing her undergraduate studies at California Polytechnic State University. Later, she earned a Master of Arts in Clinical Psychology from Pepperdine University and a doctorate in human sexuality from the Institute for Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. Amie became a licensed marriage and family therapist. Beyond her qualifications, Amie's expertise and insights gained recognition, leading to frequent appearances on popular podcasts and TV shows. She became a sought-after advisor on matters of relationships and intimacy. To help more people, Amie made videos on her own YouTube channel where she talked about her job as a therapist. She spent a lot of time helping with different physical and mental problems. She was good at dealing with tough topics like problems linked to how people are treated badly, issues with understanding your own identity, and bipolar disorder, which is a topic not talked about much. Because of her skills and dedication, a respected therapist named Mashumi Goes offered Amie an internship in 2012, setting the stage for her successful career. Amie quickly started her own place to help people in West Hollywood. She became well known for helping families and talking about relationships, and even famous people came to her. She did research that led to her writing a book called The New Sex Bible for Women, which she published in 2014. The book focused on understanding yourself sexually and being close to your partner. Parts of her book were featured in big magazines like Playboy and Elite Daily. Amie did amazing things that lots of people dream of, but when she was younger, she faced tough times too. As she grew up and embraced the usual changes in Los Angeles, Amie became good at reinventing herself. Besides going to school, she had many creative interests and talents. Amie worked as a model, showcasing clothes, and even did a photo shoot for Playboy. To pay for her master's degree and doctorate, Amie had different jobs, like teaching bartending, go-go dancing, and even fire eating. Besides modeling, Amie also helped people get fit as a personal trainer and made a workout DVD called Fit to Rock. Even with all her achievements, Amie stayed humble and stayed close to her family. Amie's family described her as funny, smart, cheerful, kind, strong, good at talking, and liked doing things on her own. Basically, she was the life of the party, and even when things were tough, she stayed positive. Amie was a special person in Hollywood, really caring and understanding. Her friends said she was naturally good at connecting with people, and this skill helped her be a great therapist. She was both beautiful and smart. When she wasn't busy with her own stuff, Amie spent time helping other women achieve their goals. She started a group online called Foxy Feminists, bringing women in Los Angeles together for jobs, inspiration, and support. Amie always stood up for women and worked to make things better for everyone she met. Amie didn't just focus on the people close to her. She also cared about helping groups in society who were often left out. Amie joined forces with Pineapple Support, a group of mental health professionals who support sex workers. This organization was created in 2017 after some people in the adult industry sadly took their own lives. Amie had some exciting hobbies that made her one of a kind. Her fun and quirky personality showed not just in the way she looked in pictures and videos, but also in her newfound love for taking photos. Besides being in front of the camera, she was great at capturing what made each person special. Amie was becoming an inspiring photographer. Alongside her creative side, she was into true crime, loved horror movies, and collected unique taxidermy pieces. Her interest in dark and unusual things went even further. She had a unique collection of true crime memorabilia, like bras that belonged to Sharon Tate, a victim in the Charles Manson family murders. Amie also enjoyed exploring preserved organs in jars at Philadelphia's Mutter Museum with her friends, showing her excitement for all things different and dark. According to her friend, Dr. Hernando Chaves, Amie felt alive and happy with this fascination for dark things. However, little did she know that her own life would become part of a dark true crime story. While living in Le, Amie had relationships with several musicians and celebrities. Her most well-known and talked about romance was with Drew Carey, the famous comedian and host of the CBS game show, The Price is Right. They met in the summer of 2017 at a party, thanks to their mutual friend, Full House producer Jeff Franklin. Drew Carey was really impressed and attracted to Amie's personality. Amie, unlike her past relationships with guys who seemed a bit rebellious, found Carey to be a really good guy. Even though there was a big 23-year age gap between them, their relationship moved fast and got serious. They got engaged in January 2018, and Amie even appeared on a special Valentine's Day episode of The Price is Right in 2018. On the show, Carey introduced her as his fiancée to millions of viewers.
To introduce you to my brand new lovely fiancée, Amie. How you doing, Amie?
Sadly, their relationship didn't last, and they called off the engagement later that same year. Amie and Carey decided not to speak about the details of their breakup, saying it was because they communicated differently. It was clear that both of them felt really sad about the split. Even so, Amie kept going with her work and spent time with her friends. Although they stayed friendly after breaking up, Amie and Carey didn't stay in touch. However, on the night before Valentine's Day in 2020, Carey got a text from Amie wanting to talk. They planned to meet after the Valentine's Day weekend, and Carey was looking forward to reconnecting with Amie, even though he was already in a new relationship at the time. They hoped to be friends again and start a new chapter together. Sadly, they never got to have that meeting or talk again. Amie started her Valentine's Day peacefully at her fancy Hollywood Hills home with her friend Cleopatra Slow. Amie played tour guide in her local area, guiding her friend through the curvy streets of Hollywood Hills. After that, they had breakfast at the Beechwood Cafe. Amie talked about how happy she was with her life, proud of what she had achieved, and excited about the future. She was also excited about the evening plan she had with her friends. Around 7:30 p.m. on Valentine's Day, Amie and some friends went to the Globe Theater, where a friend named Miss Tosh organized a show. The performers were celebrating the holiday, whether they were single or in a relationship. Amie, dressed in a pink velvet dress, a leather jacket, thigh-high black boots, and a rosary beaded necklace with a cross, joined in the fun that night. Little did they know that the necklace would later become an important piece of evidence in her murder case. Around 9:00 p.m., Amie met up with Miss Tosh in the lobby and was invited to an after-party. However, Amie, who usually avoided alcohol, politely declined. Instead of going to the burlesque after-party, Amie and her friends went to the Nomad for tea and stayed there until 12:18 a.m. Around 1:00 a.m., Amie returned home and texted her friend Sarah Rollins, asking for pictures from the outing of the previous night. She also responded to her best friend Robert Koshland, who had sent her a picture of a restaurant for an upcoming UK trip. Moments later, she went upstairs to her third-floor bedroom, perhaps getting ready to rest, unaware of the danger in her own home. A few minutes later, Michael Herman was awakened by blood-curdling screams, muffled as if someone had covered her mouth, followed by sounds like bodies hitting the floor. Unable to find his phone, Michael screamed to scare off the intruder, but it didn't seem to work. Frantically, he ran outside to seek help but found himself trapped in the courtyard and had to climb a tall metal fence, resulting in cuts. Despite the injuries, he made it to a neighbor's house but received no response. He sprinted across the street to another neighbor, but again, no one answered. Finally, at 1:14 a.m., he spotted someone with a phone and called the police for help. Michael calls 911 to report that his roommate has been attacked. He provides the address to be 2086 Mound Street and indicates that he ran out for help because he couldn't find his phone. The dispatcher asks for details about the assault, but Michael is unsure and mentions hearing screams and someone being thrown to the ground. After confirming the address of the location, Michael's full name, and color of clothing to help emergency responders identify him, the dispatcher reveals that help is on the way. The conversation ends with the dispatcher confirming the information and Michael's location. Michael Herman, feeling restless and upset, called 911 again after a few minutes to find out why they hadn't arrived, but a different dispatcher picked up the call. The dispatcher requested the address, 2086 Mount Street, to look up the details. The dispatcher asked if there was a change since the initial call, and Michael expressed frustration about the police's delayed arrival. Michael kept on emphasizing the need for police intervention, prompting the dispatcher to reassure him that officers were on their way. Police arrived at around 1:25 a.m. and discovered a distressed Herman on the street. They climbed over a fence and found Amie Harwick desperately clinging to life on the patio under the balcony of her Hollywood Hills home. Amie was found with severe injuries and marks on her neck, suggesting she was strangled before falling 20 feet. Paramedics rushed her to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center at 2:05 a.m. This was the same time that her friend, Sarah Rollins, sent her photos from the night before, not knowing that Amie was struggling for her life. Tragically, those pictures marked the last moments of Amie's life, as she passed away at 3:26 a.m. at the age of 38. Investigators found signs of a break-in, bloodstains, and a rosary bead trail inside her home. A syringe, unusual for Amie, was discovered on the balcony. As investigators sought answers, they turned to those close to her. The news of Amie's death spread like wildfire in the morning after Valentine's Day in 2020, leaving hearts shattered. Robert Koshland received the heartbreaking news from Michael Herman and the LA police. Andrew Carey, upon learning of Amie's death, expressed his grief on Twitter, sharing a Christmas photo with a heartfelt caption. "I hope you're lucky enough to have someone in your life that loves as much as she did." Investigation. As the investigation unfolded, the medical examiner determined that Amie's death was a homicide, citing manual strangulation and blunt force trauma in the autopsy report. Lab tests on the syringe found in her house revealed a lethal dose of nicotine, though it wasn't used on Amie. Amidst the mourning of her loved ones, investigators focused on finding clues. When asked about potential suspects, Amie's friends pointed to Gareth. Amie met Gareth Pershouse, an IT specialist and aspiring comedian, during a go-go dancing gig in early 2010. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches with a robust physique, Gareth differed from the musician types Amie typically associated with. Described as charming and a bit goofy, some found him fun to be around, while others felt uneasy, with one friend comparing him to the infamous serial killer Ted Bundy. Despite initially connecting over shared interests in photography, their relationship took a dark turn within a few months. Gareth became abusive and controlling, isolating Amie from her friends. Despite apologies following each assault, the toxic relationship persisted. As a licensed therapist, Amie eventually ended the relationship, recognizing its unhealthy nature. Gareth, however, remained fixated on her, stalking her through various means, including mutual friends. His obsessive behavior, requests for intermediaries, and persistent attempts to reconnect raised serious concerns among those close to Amie. Amie went through a challenging time with her ex-boyfriend Gareth, who had been abusive. In 2011 and 2012, she got 2 restraining orders against him, detailing instances of physical abuse, including choking, suffocation, pushing, kicking, forceful actions, dropping her, restraining her, slamming her head, and punching with a closed fist. Despite Amie's efforts to move on, Gareth continued to trouble her. After the breakup, Amie believed Gareth was behind disparaging online comments and threatening emails to her friends. The situation escalated when 4 years later, someone broke into her home, stole photo albums, and wiped her computer. A friend checked her computer and found it wiped, suggesting a skilled intrusion. Explicit photos sent to potential employers led to Amie losing her job. Despite suspicions, she couldn't prove Gareth's involvement. On January 16, 2020, after 8 years, Amie unexpectedly met Gareth at an event. Invited last minute to speak at an adult film industry gala, she spotted Gareth, who was now a photographer, although her restraining order had expired. Amie chose not to renew it to avoid a face-to-face court appearance. Gareth, seeing Amie, lost control, yelled, screamed, and caused a scene at the event, creating distress for Amie in front of a large crowd. One of Amie's colleagues, Dr. Chaves, who witnessed the incident, noted that Amie tried to de-escalate the situation, and she engaged in a 45-minute conversation to calm him down, expressing that jealousy isn't love but fear. Despite her efforts, the incident left her disturbed. After the event, Amie and Chaves discussed safety measures like getting mace, changing locks, and considering a police visit. Amie declined Chaves' offer to stay overnight, but later updated him on safety measures. She also shared her concerns with Robert, expressing a desire to share her phone location if anything happened to her. 2 weeks later, Amie made an unusual request to her parents, specifying funeral wishes and an open casket. Did she sense danger? Well, in one of her videos, she highlighted the danger of jealousy turning into violence, referencing the O.J. Simpson case. However, the answer to whether she felt her life was in danger remains unknown. But could Gareth be the assailant? Well, after a thorough search of the area, it was revealed that there were signs of an intruder entering and leaving after the murder. Investigators checked security cameras in the neighborhood, and they found footage of Gareth before he destroyed one of the cameras. The theory emerged that Gareth broke into Amie's home, likely around the time Herman heard a noise, and attacked when she got to her apartment. Gareth was believed to have struggled with Amie, strangling her, and throwing her from the balcony before escaping. On February 15, 2020, at approximately 4:45 p.m., 41-year-old Pershouse was arrested at his Playa del Rey residence on suspicion of murder. Detectives noticed multiple bruises on his body, confirming his struggle with Amie. They also found the same brand of syringes at his home as those at the crime scene, strengthening their suspicions. Initially released on a $2 million bond, concerns about Gareth fleeing the country led to his rearrest less than 24 hours later. He was charged with burglary and murder, to which he pleaded not guilty on February 16, 2020. During Gareth's time in jail, details of his family history emerged. It appeared that being an abusive partner was somewhat of a legacy in Gareth's family. His father, Paul Pershouse, who passed away in July 2019, also had a restraining order issued against him by his ex-fiancée, Deborah Vale. Similar to Amie, Vale had endured harassment from her obsessive ex-lover, who refused to accept rejection. Paul had harassed her through various means, including phone calls, emails, and in-person encounters. The only difference was that Vale managed to escape with her life, unlike Amie. Another peculiar detail emerged with a video of Gareth telling a joke about a scene from Game of Thrones. While the joke might seem innocent, considering what he did to Amie, it takes on a creepy undertone. Despite being a high-profile case, the trial was significantly delayed for nearly 3 years due to the impact of COVID-19. Finally, on August 29, 2023, the trial began in Los Angeles Superior Court, where Gareth Pershouse appeared noticeably different, gaining significant weight. The prosecution asserted their belief from the start that Gareth had strangled Harwick and pushed her off the balcony in a planned and premeditated attack. They presented evidence stating that Gareth murdered Dr. Amie Harwick because he was obsessed with her, stemming from her rejection of his advances and her decision to cut off all contact. The prosecutor argued that on Valentine's Day, Gareth broke into her house with a syringe loaded with a lethal dose of nicotine and waited for her to return. When she arrived, he attacked her, strangled her, and, in a panic after her roommate's intervention, dropped her off the balcony to her death.
He broke into her house on Valentine's Day. He broke in there with a syringe loaded with a lethal dose of nicotine. And then he waited for her until she got home. He waited there for hours for her. When she arrived, she went up to her third-story bedroom and got caught by surprise by the defendant. He immediately attacked her, as evidence will show. He strangled her. And then her roommate, who was asleep in the bottom level, heard the screaming and yelled out, "Leave her alone." The evidence is going to show the defendant panicked at that moment, took Amie Harwick's debilitated body over to her bedroom balcony, lifted her up over the balcony, and dropped her to her death.
The prosecution also presented DNA evidence found under Amie's fingernails and on a French door in her living room, matching Gareth's, placing him directly at the crime scene. Testimonies from many of Amie's friends highlighted her fear of Gareth's irrational behavior. The defense, however, argued that Gareth did not go to Amie's house with the intent to kill her. He was depressed after meeting her at the award show and only wanted to talk to her. They suggested the nicotine syringe was for himself, not Amie. The defense proposed that Amie might have attacked him first and climbed over the balcony railing to escape. Prosecutors argued that Amie's injuries did not support the idea of her trying to climb down and emphasized that Gareth intended to kill her all along. Gareth's trial began on August 29, 2023. On September 27, 2023, after nearly 8 hours of deliberation, a California jury found Gareth Pershouse guilty on all counts. On September 29, 2023, Gareth Pershouse was convicted of Harwick's murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on December 6, 2023. This verdict brought a sense of acknowledgement for Amie Harwick's friend, Robert Koshland, who recognized that while there may never be complete closure, justice was served in her case. Amie, despite being a trained professional capable of handling challenging situations, faced a tragic end. This brings attention to the broader issue of women's safety, not just for clients, but for women in general. Law enforcement data reveals that 34% of individuals in the U.S. killed by an intimate partner were alone, with an even higher number for women. In response to this concern, Amie's friends have launched a petition advocating for a new law called Amie's Law. This proposed legislation aims to strengthen restraining orders, remove expiration dates, and ensure protection until the victim genuinely feels safe. Advocates stress the importance of legal changes in Amie's honor to prevent similar tragedies. Amie's previous video addressing this issue gained attention, where she highlighted the need for a safe environment, saying, "If we don't feel safe in our homes and our neighborhoods, we're not going to be able to care for ourselves effectively."
If we don't feel safe in our homes and our neighborhoods, if we feel that we could be emotionally or physically attacked at any time, maybe we're being stalked, or we live in an unsafe environment, we work in an unsafe environment, we're not going to be able to care for ourselves effectively. So we need to consider these things and make changes if necessary.
So guys, if you or someone you know is experiencing any form of domestic violence, the National Domestic Violence Hotline can be reached at 1-800-799-7233 or visit thehotline.org to lay a complaint. As we come to the end of this heartbreaking story, we are left with many questions regarding the events of that fateful night. What led Gareth to such desperation? Could Amie have been saved if she didn't stay home that night? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. All right guys, that wraps up our video for today. If you found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more.